have it out, and anybody who's able to watch us this morning. It's a budget workshop. It's very informal. We won't take motions or anything. It's just to inform you what the budget is, let you ask questions of all the department heads, the administration. Just is like there's a kind of a high level budget review. I've got time constraints. Some other people have time constraints. So we'd like to get through the entire budget so we don't have to reschedule to continue this next week. So I'd like to get this finished up today as we can. Just as a reminder, the council is the fiscal body of the city. You do ultimately approve the tax rate that will go into supporting this budget. You do have bottom line control and total spending control. That is the prerogative of the council. One of the examples of that is the park board presents their proposed budget. You don't have the right to tell them how to spend their money. You just have a right to tell them how much money they have to spend. So the bottom line control, and that actually goes through the entire budget process is bottom line control. If you'd like to have a project you think we should have added, we can certainly have that discussion. If you'd like to have a project you think you'd like to have removed, we can have that discussion. But at the end of the day, the administration can spend whatever money you approve in the way they see fit. Starting on the budget calendar, we are a little bit ahead on the second page of your proposal, of your budget. September 10th was originally the date for the work session, and this is a very, like I said, very casual and open meeting. September 20th, Ryan will submit notice to taxpayers and publish the budget. It can be reduced, but it can't be increased anytime he puts public notice out. And anytime they can reduce it, but we can't ever increase it once he makes public notice. Public Works project, I'm on page 2, just kind of covers some of the highlights of the 2025 projected budget. A lot of these are being paid for out of grant. A lot of these are paying for out of our tax revenue. The community crossing grant has gone up or will go up next year. We're hoping to 1.5 million. We're going to reconstruct portions of Mark Drive, Sarah Drive, resurface and preventative maintenance on portions Superior, Prospect, Pleasant, Broad, Sarah, Shire, resurface structural overlay portions of Broad, Superior, and Manahan, and North Wayne sidewalk engineering. Let's stop at that one for a second. The street projects are defined by the engineering department. They go out and actually supply a numerical grade to all of our streets. It is done very analytically. It's done very scientifically. There is a scoring process they go through. The engineering department tries to keep us overall in the city at the highest possible score we can obtain with the dollars that we have available. It is a very analytical approach that the engineering department takes. North Wayne, as I said, North Wayne Street sidewalk engineering is part of the North Wayne rehabilitation project coming in 26 or 27. This is the engineering portion. There is some grant money that will be coming back to help support that. South Wayne streetscape is something that I've asked to do. We're trying to rehabilitate the first block of South Wayne Street. The sidewalk down there is in very bad shape. We do have some engineering work that has already been completed, but we've never done the project. We're going to put that back on the table. The city trail south leg, that's our bike path, takes us to the south city limits. Once again, that is with a grant program and our matching. You will see that impacting our budget. One of the reasons our budget is shot up quite a bit next year is because of the required, the grant money and the required local match money that we have. It's a good problem to have. We're going to change the street department salt barn. That's been included in the budget. That does come out of our pocket, comes out of the highway street department. You'll see that later on. The tree memorial, that is part of the parks department. They've included that in their budget. William Street sidewalk and trail, that's something that I wanted to do. It's out north of the Y on the east side of the road. We want to connect some of our existing neighborhoods back toward the bike path. So you'll see that in the budget. Street sign replacement, that is a project that we hope to get a grant for. It replaces all our street signs within the city. It's an 80-20 match of $1 million. It does impact our budget. If we don't get the grant, we will not do it. Gale Street parking lot, that's one that I've asked to have done. We're using Gale Street more. We're putting Art Fest and so forth and the food truck Fridays down there. We have a parking lot that's along Gale Street. There's a retaining wall stairway that are eroded and deteriorated very badly. We do need to replace that. This is not a public works project, but replace the fire truck because it impacts our budget significantly. It's $1 million piece. We do accumulate money to do that. It will bid it out sometime next year. We'll have to buy a chassis sometime next year, about $500,000. The truck delivery will probably be in 26, but you have to budget the entire $1 million when you order the truck. So it'll probably be affect 20. We'll encumber the money all in next year's budget for that process, but it's a fairly expensive piece that bumps up our budget quite a bit. It's $1 million. The utilities are listed there. North Wayne Water Engineering, Calvary Lane Engineering, Pokagon Water Main Extension that we're doing with the state. The state automatically pays for that, but it does impact our budget. And we always add water valves. Tom always likes to put more water valves in our system so he can isolate the system better when we have problems. Wastewater, Darling Street Sewer Extension, Mill Street Lift Station improvements, wastewater aeration diffuser replacement, Pokagon Sewer. It's the same as the water. The state's paying for that. And the North Wayne Storm Sewer Engineering for that project. The budget report summary. When I was in your position, the first thing I always looked at was year-over-year change. Where are we changing? What numbers are we looking at? And I always looked at the far right-hand column, numbers that shot up significantly. Motor vehicle highway has shot up 16% this year, primarily due to the $500,000 salt barn that we have included. Local roads, bridge match grant has shot up significantly this year. That's primarily driven by the community crossing grant increase. But the community crossing grant comes in, we spend it. It doesn't necessarily impact our tax rate other than the matching portion, but it does on the budget look like the budget shot way up. That's what is driven at 73%. Local income tax, economic development. We'll review that here in a little bit, but there's a lot of projects and most of those include grants. I think there's almost $3 million with the grants that are going through that fund this year. So that number has shot up significantly. Now, if you don't mind, we'd like to go through page by page. We got 33 pages of nothing but what Ryan considers joy. And we'll try to get through this as quick as we can, but I'd like to start with the police department. Ken is working on a project that's really important to the community this morning, and we'll start with him. Before we get to that, I would like to tell you that at this point, Ryan is estimating our tax rate for next year will go from $1.10 to $1.08. So we are actually forecasting a decrease in our tax rate at this point for next year. Now, with that, Ken, I think your budget starts on page. I wrote it down, page 13. You lucky you. So if you don't mind turning to page 13, line item for all of Ken's budget. Do you have any questions or any comments that you would like to ask Ken while he is here about page 13?
And I assume the lighting is just around the very bottom.
We may be looking at the wrong page because I started off with our 177 fund for the building.
Yes. Which page is it? Page 22.
Yeah, I love that one. Page 9.
Oh, sorry.
I forgot that Ken does the PSD budget.
That's a public safety building.
Yeah.
Which includes fire. Sorry. Did you want to start on 13 or not?
That was the only question I had.
Okay. So on page 13, the bottom lighting updates. Again, page 13 is questions, the last line.
I just right here for the firearms supplies and update lighting and sight systems.
Okay, that is actually for rifles and shotguns. Yeah, we have about 7 different varieties of lighting and sighting systems for either our rifles or shotguns. And we're trying to streamline that. So it's just one unit. So if an officer were to pick up a different, it's going to be exactly the same way.
It's got a laser camera.
No, just,
It's not a laser sight.
no, it's holographic or red dot, green dot.
Okay, I guess I thought that was.
Page 22 is also part of Ken's budget. Not a whole lot there. It's a law enforcement continuing ed fund. Travel expenses, 10,000. And then if nobody has questions there, page 25 is also Ken's. It's a lit, local income tax. Public safety fund. No questions there. All right, Ken.
Just one, sorry. So
Oh, sorry.
for the officers, is this budgeted in for new officers coming in that you're hiring or?
Okay, so all
vacancies?
the officer salary stuff goes strictly through Ryan. I
Gotcha,
deal with it.
okay.
Yeah, right now we're one officer short. So
Okay.
this includes budgeting in for the new officer.
Okay, yeah, I was just looking at the change for time, so thank you.
This is our center of community here, so.
We done with Ken? Okay. Thank you, Ken.
Thank you, sir.
Get back to work. Thank you. Thank you. Let's go to page 1 of 33. It is the clerk treasurer's budget. First thing I'd like to point out is the clerk treasurer top line, 28,500. The clerk treasurer, the mayor, and several other people around City Hall are paid in thirds. We're paid a third out of the tax fund, third out of water, third out of wastewater, because we work on all those issues. That's why you'll see the clerk treasurer budget as income. His income is 28,000. You've got to get different pools of money there. But other than that, do you have any questions, comments? Next page, mayor. I think it's the mayor's fund. Same thing for the salary is prorated. HR administrator, same thing. She's one that's paid third. Have any questions on the mayor's salary for next year? Not any significant change, actually reduced a little bit, went down a little bit.
Professional services, is that engineering or is that something else?
If I need to hire somebody to help come out in for legal advice or any kind of outside
What we
service.
pay for AIM, those people that.
That's not a membership, and there's a line item.
The AIM membership is paid out of the council budget, out of organizational membership dues. Professional services for the mayor, a lot of that would be personnel things that we use outside services for. That comes out of his budget.
And what's the promotions and PR line item? The bottom one there.
Oh, the advertisement we bought to celebrate all our employees on Labor Day, those
Saw that. That
type of
was
things.
nice.
And there's other promotional things that we do for the city that comes out of my promotional.
That'd be like the car show or?
Yeah, in any kind of promotion we do,
Okay.
it comes out of the mayor's piece of it. Yeah, I think some of the golf outings come out of that. Occasionally sponsor golf outings for different organizations come out of that.
Okay, thank you.
Common Council has a budget because it encompasses things that affect the entire city, hydrant rental, garbage pickup, those sort of things. That doesn't necessarily fit any one department, comes out of the council budget. Any questions on the council budget? I don't think that actually went down significantly this year.
We have workers' compensation. Is that in the list?
Yes.
Well, yeah, are you
Is that for?
talking about council members specifically? or-
Yeah, that's why I wondered, because there's $6,000 there for workers' compensation. Where did I find it?
Oh, yeah. There's a portion of employees that are paid out of there. And council
Okay,
members.
all right, but if you trip, leave it here. I didn't think we were covered.
Yeah, don't put on.
I think I did trip. You don't need to know.
No. Post doesn't work. Any questions on the council budget? Economic Development and Planning Department, that also went down a little bit this year. We're forecasting a decrease. Any questions on that?
We pay for the publication of notice now. You do that. Is it much less than what you pay for the newspaper? When we do it electronically that you do?
So, well, we have a lot of notices we still have to publish in the paper. So that's what's paid for out of here.
Okay, that's separate from that.
Yeah. And planning typically does a lot of them because rezoning and things like that, they have a lot of public notices that have to go out in the paper.
So you can't put those in that electronic notice anymore. Or still,
We still have a newspaper available to put them in, so.
okay.
Also mail too, don't you mail stuff to homeowners?
Yeah, they do for them, yeah.
Or I guess as an example.
Any other questions? Information technology is the next. Once again, this was a slight increase, probably the payroll would be my guess. We are planning on moving some of our backup to the cloud, although there is no such thing as in the cloud, it goes someplace else. But our IT folks will be working on that project coming next year. We'll also be working on redoing our website next year.
Who's going to be the point person on the website?
Primarily is going to be Mark, yes. We'll have several other people work with him, but primarily Mark. Questions? City Hall, budget for next year. We're going to change the lobby flooring, going to run it up a little bit, and we are also going to re-tuck point and clean some of the bricks on the outside to help maintain the historic building that we are in. So there's a little bit of an increase next year. Municipal building. Yeah. It was. Done there, thank you. Law and professional services. Don't even look at this budget, it should be 3 times around, but it is. We get a lot of service out of that. We appreciate it. No questions? Engineering. We are changing some of the work assignments. We did that with council not too awful long ago, where we moved somebody from the planning economic office and then transferring over engineering. So that's why you'll see an increase in the engineering budget for next year. No questions. Building safety. Building Commissioner Scott Lehman, budget. Slight increase for next year, very slight.
I have several questions for Scott. Let's kidding, Scott.
Well, we try to answer them, Gary.
Let's see, we're already done page 13. The school department is done. Page 14 is done. What's that now? Oh, the AARP, the coronavirus, nothing budgeted there. Can't imagine we have any questions there. Street department. We are reassigning our part-time clerk in that and moving him over to a full-time position. He will also be working not only in the office, but he'll also be working off the street with the rest of the street folks. There's a $500,000 increase for the salt barn, which makes up the lion's share of the increase, or actually all of the increase that you are seeing in his budget. So that does jump off the page. Do you have any questions, Mr. Ritter?
So some of these, like the repair and maintenance supplies and vehicle supplies, is that due to the cost of
Yes.
parts going up?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Did you get a bid and get sealed up on the barn?
Not completely yet, waiting for. We have a close idea.
Alrighty. Page 19, Park Department. Park Department is up a little bit. Primarily, he's got the building for the tree memorial pavilion and walking. Our tree program has been very popular out there, and they have filled up all the available spots for it, and they want to add another one. We get more and more of those every year. It's a great program, and people love it to honor their loved ones that have passed. Any questions of Matt while he is here? This is the one that really jumped up, the Lit Economic Development Fund. And you can see there's capital outlays of improvements, but everything stays the same. Well, actually, the grant subsidies went down quite a bit, but the improvements, the North Lane sidewalk, 500,000, the South Lane streetscape, 500,000, next level trails, the bike path, 1.6 million, Williams Street sidewalk and trail, 225. The sign replacement is 1 million. Like I said, most of those are being reimbursed by grant. So that number really did jump up significantly this year, but most of it is relating to grant, other than the South Lane and the Williams Street projects. Those are out of our tax.
Amanda, are the signs, the street signs that say which street it is, or is it the stop signs, the turn signs?
Warning and regulatory. It's a federal call specific to safety projects.
Make sure they're the right height. Loose and shiny, is that it?
Yes, yeah, everything complies with the MUTCD.
We have applied for the grant, but we've not heard back whether we received the grant. Is that?
We have not applied yet. The call just opened Tuesday.
Okay.
And this is budgeting the full amount, and then 80% or whatever the reimbursement is will come back to this fund. Is that correct?
Yes, we have to appropriate the full amount of the project. So it's kind of sticker shock, but really our total would be really 200,000 cash wise.
So you don't set up a separate federal grant fund with the 80%?
We have a federal grants fund, but the monies that we're using are actually coming out of lit. So we just go through it that way.
Okay.
So if we get the grants, then the 80% reimbursement goes
Back into the lit fund.
back in the fund, then we can appropriate for something else or.
And on the budget management report, when I provided that, if you look at the revenues for lit economic development, for 2025, the budget, they jump way up. That's because I figured those grant dollars into the revenues in that report, so.
All right, any other questions there? I am moving on to page 23 of 33, which is the Riverboat Fund. Ryan, you want to give a brief description?
This would be a chat thing, actually. This riverboat is, these are revenues that we get from our portion of what the state collects for riverboat gambling fees. This fund is special revenues specifically to be used for sidewalk and ADA compliance. So every year we budget an amount for and use it at Chad's direction to repair sidewalks and make sure they're ADA compliant.
You don't need somebody to go check this place out, do you, and make sure that the money is.
I'm fairly assured that they are bringing in plenty of money.
We'll make a contribution. I'll say that.
Leave marked bills so we know which ones you put. Page 24, local road and bridge matching grant fund. That is the community crossing fund. That has been a real game changer for our community. It's enabled us to make tremendous investments in our neighborhoods, rebuilding streets and keeping our streets maintained. That's what that fund is. Any questions there? Public safety, I think we've already covered, which is 25, page 26, opioid settlement. We have been having conversations with the Community Foundation about assigning those dollars to them and have them find the appropriate place for them. There are a number of There's two different pots of money, restricted, unrestricted. The restricted money is what we're talking about using with the foundation. So we are budgeting that to go to the foundation. We're going to pool our money with the county, have an existing agreement, and have a advisory board that's appointed to oversee how those funds are dispersed.
What are those restricted to?
Basically, you have to use it for drug issue remediation, education, rehabilitation, those sort of things. There's a long list of the state says, here's what you can use those funds for. We're going to let the foundation administer it. We'll have an advisory board that makes recommendations, but the foundation will be the one that ultimately determines where those dollars, they're more geared into the philanthropic stuff. That's why we're doing it that way. Fire operating fund on page 27. Any questions for Chief Paul while he is here with us?
Including page 28. Yeah, including page 28.
Yeah, his entire fund.
Chief, you're going from 60,000 to 50,000 in firefighting equipment. Is there?
In firefighter equipment.
Yes.
So typically, that is if we earmark it for a special piece of equipment, right? So a couple of years ago, we bought extrication equipment with that funding. Next year, I'm going to be looking at nozzle packages. Our nozzles are like 25 years old. So that's something maybe I'll earmark that for. But it's like if we have a large piece of equipment that goes bad, that's what we use that funding for. But it's nice to have that line item if you need it for a piece of equipment that unexpectedly comes up.
I guess my only question is why does it reduce
Why did I reduce it?
versus keep?
Well, because I don't really have, I mean, like I said, I don't have a really earmark for anything. I know that amount would cover the nozzle package that I'm looking at. A couple of years ago when I had it increased, we bought extrication equipment with it and I knew what the amount associated with that was. So I felt like that was an appropriate number going into next year.
So
So.
make sure you get as much money as you need to.
Years ago, we used to split the lit public safety with the fire department. We had a request a number of years back to have one pot of money that our fire department operated out of. The request came from Pleasant Township so they could better understand where our dollars were spent because they pay a portion of this contract. They reimburse us for this, but they wanted to see a fund that was dedicated to the fire department where all of the fire department operations were paid for. All right, we're moving on to the Community Capital Improvement Fund. The Gale Street parking lot wall is where that is being budgeted. Probably had conversations that a little while ago. Any questions there? Community Capital Development Fund, that's the fund that we set aside for primarily rolling stock for the fire department. We let cash accumulate there until we have enough to make major purchases. Major purchases this year will be the $1 million fire truck that we will order, and you will expect that and order it when?
Yeah, so we have to have all that money in our queue fund. So basically what will happen is if we start speccing it in 2025, and even if we order it by the end of 25, it's a 25-month process to get a fire truck. Now we have to have the funds in there to pay for the chassis the year we would order it, but then we pay the remainder whenever the truck is complete, and it's about a 25-month waiting period right now. So, and the truck that we're looking at replacing is actually a 2009. It's our old engine one. And with that being said, just so everybody's aware, like my plan with engine one would be to roll that into, so we can use it at our training academy with all the programs we got going on. Because right now we take it down there and use it every day anyway, but we would just basically assign that instead of, you're not going to get anything for it if you try to sell it, right? Because it's just not worth anything anymore. But we can utilize it for our own programs and we could have it at our training academy and use it down there. So that would be the plan moving forward. Once we get that other truck spec and it would arrive, which like I said, would be a couple years away. So
25 months seems to me to be less time than the last one. Wouldn't that be?
I wasn't here for the last one. I was just here when it showed up. But yeah, it is. And I've talked to a couple of manufacturers and kind of getting a timeline, so we kind of knew what we needed to do. And they're saying, 25 months. So, and I believe it. I mean, it's just.
Just a dumb question. Why does it take so long? There's no assembly line that builds these or?
Well, I think there's a pretty high demand right now for fire trucks too.
So is that,
Only so many producers also.
Yeah.
There's one in Ohio somewhere.
And then they had a lot of supply issues and I think they're just finally starting to get caught up on some of that stuff, but it's
it's not that it takes that long to build, it's that you got to get in line. Okay, that's what I was curious.
so.
We have done shorter turns on equipment that some organizations turned down that a vendor had. We were able to pick it up and being able to save some money from time to time. But nobody builds these things on spec. They're all built on order. Nobody wants to inventory a fire truck. Matter of fact, the way they're building it, it's our chassis that we own. It's in their production. So nobody would build these things on spec.
So Chief, will there be any storage, I guess, capacity issues
Storage issues? Yeah, I pretty much lost my parking spot in the station. So we've got, and I think that's something too in the future. Like, I know I've talked to every council member here and I know the mayor's aware, but I think going into the future, I think we have some significant needs we need for the fire service. Manning is a big thing. Maybe looking at another facility is another thing, whether it's a second station or building a new station. But those are, and I think I've talked to a lot of you about, I think I personally feel a great idea would be to form a committee and start really getting down into the nitty gritty of all that stuff and figuring out the direction we want to go as a city, because I'm telling you, our run volumes are increasing. Our demand is increasing. We're getting more demand from EMS, more demand from other organizations, and we are spread extremely thin. Yesterday was a typical example. So I have a lot of concerns about that kind of stuff, and I don't sleep well at night because of it. So I think those are things that we need to really start addressing as collectively as a body. I went through the territory process last year, which everybody's aware of, I'm sure. That kind of got cut down. So I think moving forward, the best way to do it is collectively form a committee so everybody's on the same page and is very well informed. So just kind of put that on your radar, talk about it, and you know where to find me.
So the engine one that would go to the training academy, that would be a more immediate need once it's placed, because the training academy that was built
Right down the street, yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll house it. We'll be able to house it here in our engine house, and then we just take it down there and use it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, Park non-reverting fund, page 31, no expenditures. We can skip over that. Local major moves construction fund. Any comments, any questions on that?
Frank, could you just a little overview on what?
Yeah, these are the funds that we appropriate on a yearly basis for the AIF, basically. If they have any loans that they're going to give out, that way we have funds appropriated and ready if any of our grants or loans.
Thank you.
Police pension fund. It is what it is. All right, moving on to our utilities. Utilities, there's a lot of better forecasting information out there. We do a financial analysis on an annual basis. It includes 5-year projections on revenue and expenses and capital improvements. They do get revised on an annual basis. Here is the water utilities budget for next year. Page 125, just for water. They are the most complex budget. It's something that we look at on an annual basis, if not more often. And we've got professionals looking at it annually, if not more often. Any questions on the water utility budget for
I guess for the capital improvement, is that mostly maintenance activities for capital outlays versus?
Yes.
Okay. I was just curious, yeah, for like
I like wordy answers.
Thank you.
Anything else? Wastewater. Once again, it is like water. We analyze this on an annual basis, and you all should have those projections from the beginning of the year when they look at our rates and charges and our forecast expenses for the year. And I actually carry out forecasts for 5 years. This is the wastewater utility.
Jeff, I guess same question, a lot of the capital outlays maintenance, because I think there's discussion on more long-term study of capacity.
Yes. Yeah, I somewhat hit on that when I messaged you yesterday about it. You know, I consider the 5-year capital wish list. This is what I wish I could do in a year, but I know I'm not going to get everything done. So that's where I was getting at when I said every year it changes, because you just can't get everything done in a year. So it gets pushed out and stuff gets shuffled around, but it's mainly maintenance, upkeep on vehicles. Mainly maintenance.
Thank you.
Any other questions for wastewater? We always save the best for last. Also have any other comments, suggestions, anything they'd like to get off their chest?
I have a question on the streets. If I have to, as I do my morning walk, I'm stuck on Washington Street. You know, and then that road's being, if push comes to shove, how fast can you fix the road?
How fast can I fix
How fast can we fix a road?
the whole road or just spots?
I'm talking the whole
Depends
spot.
what's wrong with it.
Okay, right now we're in Washington Street, and we're doing gutters and piping and stuff like that. So let's say, how long would it be to replace just the curb? I mean, I throw everything we can to get that done right now. How fast?
We're kind of at the whim of a contractor, aren't we?
It's all onto a contractor. Like, if I call the contractor right now to do it, I won't get it done this year. They're too far out.
If you had like one block of street, and
Okay.
you had unlimited crews, like they're gonna do it.
Right, that's just my general
Tear it
question.
out, put it back in, you could do it in weeks.
Yeah.
But the problem is we don't have unlimited. crews.
Absolutely, I was just wondering.
What we're experiencing right now with some of the projects we have going, and I'm getting a little frustrated myself, the contractor who was the lowest responsible bidder, they've got other projects. So they would do enough work here to kind of keep you happy, and then they go over there and try to keep that guy happy. Then they go over here, it's typical contractor stuff. So we have these projects that have been started in North Washington, and I have been fielding a lot of phone calls on that. I've been getting it too. And we have other streets that are in the same position where we're sitting there waiting for the contractor, but we only have so much ability to twist their arm.
So if they're, and you said they just get a little enough to get us to get happy.
Yeah.
They're not really responsive.
And I wouldn't argue that point.
Okay. I mean, we had some issues
We're
with.
one of the first one community crossings that they have started this year, and they got 15 more.
In the contract, so don't we have like
November 1st.
deadlines and then
Yep.
liquidate damages afterwards if not completed? So we have some, but I don't know what those look like, how it's structured.
I wasn't trying to put an emphasis on this. I was just interested because people are asking, how long is it going to?
The frustrating part on Washington, our crews did the demo work to save money from the contract. We have the ability to do that. It's not that big a deal for us, so we had the ability to do that. We did it based on the timeline that the contractor said, hey, we should be able to be in there at such and such date. So our guys go in, Jed goes in and rips everything out, starts the project. And then the contractor pushes it back and pushes it back. But the demo's already been done. So it's very frustrating. I feel.
That was my question.
So much business that they don't care. Is that what it is? They're not worried about
Probably.
being contracted.
I hope the weather holds for them.
Yeah.
Weather holds, employee issues, that kind of thing.
Was responsible. They did not be responsible.
Well, I'd like to thank all department heads for putting the budget together because they really are the ones that do the work. Ryan does, like I've said before, all the heavy lifting and putting it all together. His job is just now beginning. He has to get it out there, entered into the state's accounting system. We have to do public notices for tax rate purposes and budgeting purposes. Well, we will bring you back here again. We'll have a public hearing for the budget where we will open it up for anybody to come in and discuss it and make comment. We'll have 3 readings. It is an ordinance form. We will do 1 reading with a public notice and then probably ask you to do a second, third reading on the same night. And then Brian, once again, will be publishing all the legal requirements that he needs to do. So his work is just beginning, and I appreciate everybody coming in this morning.
Question there.
Certainly.
Would it be possible to start this process maybe a week earlier? So that gives us a little more time to look over the entire budget. I know this year was different, but
Well, we originally had planned on doing this
I know.
next week.
I know. I'm just saying, maybe if we,
All right.
because it takes,
Yeah.
it takes a day or two for the department heads to put this together, and Ryan.
This started back when we said, hey, here's what we want to do for pay raises next year. That's when the process really begins. And how long ago was that? 6 weeks, 8 weeks? It's been a while.
The mayor and I have discussed trying to get the budget, this whole process moved up some. The problem is, it wouldn't be a week. We'd have to move back the budget presentation to the council meeting before that, which moves it back 2 to 3 weeks, depending on how the month falls. So
Okay.
we have talked about trying to get things accomplished quicker, but most of the heavy work comes in the beginning of it.
Exactly.
So-
And great work it is, by the way.
Yeah.
Actually, the whole process starts July 1 through 31st. He starts back in June to look at the calendar and put the calendar. He actually starts the process back in June.
Did we look earlier then? Because it looked like September 10th was already identified prior to when we met on Monday. So maybe we could look at our schedules earlier to make sure that works for everyone to get enough time.
This calendar was put out back
Right, yeah.
in June or July. June 12th is the date that he put this out.
Yeah, maybe we could have that at one of our earlier council meetings just to get it on everyone's schedule so we can plan for that. Because I agree, if we could have at least a week, 2 weeks would be ideal for me, but just depending on.
I'd love to get the whole thing moved back or forward, I guess, whichever way you're looking at the calendar, so that we could get some of this accomplished sooner. I think we can get there.
Okay, thanks.
I know there's a lot of work that goes into it.
We
Yeah,
don't want to put anybody under any gun or anything.
I remember getting budgets to the county commissioners in May, and that's what our timeline was for the county highway. And I thought, wow, we're barely into the year and we're planning for the next year, but
That's another thing, if we try to move things up sooner than we're moving things up on our department heads, we're
Exactly.
trying to estimate what they need for the next year, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a little more time to know what they need.
Well, the further out you get with the crystal ball, the more cloudy the crystal ball gets. The closer you get to it, here's the actual timeline, things are starting, the more clear that picture becomes. So.
yeah, it's balancing. act.
Yeah, okay, if they started working on a 2026 budget right now, it would they'd be grabbing ideas out of the ether. They have no idea where they're gonna be at.
But thankfully, I appreciate all the responses from the department heads. I mean, there's a lot of advanced planning that's going on, so I appreciate that from everyone and from the administration as well.
We have great people. They're very attuned to being the most efficient they possibly can for all our shareholders and ratepayer, all of our taxpayers and ratepayers. So I appreciate all the work they do.
Thank you.
Anything else? Hearing nothing else, we'll consider ourselves adjourned. Thank you all for coming in today. Okay.
Go ahead.